Thank you, Luciana. Thank you, all of you, honorable members of European Parliament, distinguished guests. So before we begin, I would like to extend a special thank to European Food Forum, of which I'm a proud member. The forum, as most of you know, plays a crucial role in fostering dialogue and collaboration among policymakers, industry leaders, stakeholders across the European food sector. And we are grateful for its ongoing support and engagement in initiatives like today's event. I already had a lot of experiences participating to many events promoted and organized by the European Food Forum, and I would say that it's a real, very active, dynamic, vibrant network between many of those subjects. I'm also, as you know, the S&D Committee Coordinator, and obviously when Lucelle asked me to suggest a topic for organizing an event in Parliament, I had no doubt about choosing extra virgin olive oil as the theme. That I would like to underline that I shared this idea with Antonio De Caro, my friend, first of all friend, then former mayor of Bali, then president of ND Committee. And you know how important is the extra virgin olive oil in Puglia, the region which from Antonio came. And it's a true honor to welcome you to this event dedicated to this subject. Olive oil, a genuine treasure of European agriculture, and is not only a fundamental ingredient in our culinary traditions, but also a pillar of Mediterranean diet, renewed worldwide for its health benefits and sustainability. And the Mediterranean diet, you know, is also a subject of a worldwide UNESCO heritage. And another important aspect is that for the first time we have in the European Commission a commissioner with a portfolio fully dedicated to Mediterranean. So Commissioner Dubrovka Suica. So Mediterranean will become a strategic aspect in European vision. The production of extra virgin olive oil embodies the core values of the European Union. Quality, traceability, regional identity at a time when consumers are increasingly attentive to authenticity and product origin. Olive oil stands as a symbol of union between heritage and innovations. The Common Agricultural Policy for 23-27 brings several important changes, especially in the system of direct payments and sectorial support. And you know, is an official news that President of the European Commission, von der Leyen, asked to present the first draft of a new CAP on July 16th. So very, very few. Very, very close. Under the previous CAP, direct payments were structured in the decoupled scheme, which with a basic payment and a greening component, along with a coupled support that included the three specific measures. These were primarily targeted at certain regions. For my country, Italy, for example, premium for olive groves in Puglia and Calabria, contribution for sloping olive groves in Puglia, Calabria, and Liguria, and support for PDO and PGI certified olives product in nationwide. Additionally, there was a supplement available for young farmers under 14 who had started their activity within the previous 5 years. As a result, financial support varied widely across regions, with Puglia and Calabria receiving the highest payments, often exceeding 500 euros per hectare. So the new CAP, dear friends, dear colleagues, introduces a significant shift in the structure of direct payments. There is now a strong push towards the convergence of payment entitlements across all regions, reducing historical disparities And two new components have also been introduced. The distributive payment, which aims to better support small and medium-sized farms, and the eco-scheme, with a links payment to environmentally sustainable practices. In terms of sectorial interventions, one of the biggest changes is the move away from the old model to a new system inspired by the fruit and vegetable sectors. However, the sector today faces unprecedented challenges. The spread of the bacterium Xylella fastidiosa, and we have the experts today, is threatening millions of olive trees with devastating impacts not only on production but also on the economic, cultural, and environmental fabric of our regions. In Italy, Spain, and Greece countries that account for 95% of European production, potential economic losses are measured in billions of euros, and the risk to thousands of jobs is very real. Addressing these challenges requires coordinated action across policy, research, and innovation, and today we will discuss how European strategies can reinforce support for producers, ensure product authenticity, promote health through diet. We will also explore the role of new genomic technique and sustainable practices in strengthening plant resilience, safeguarding long-term production. And last point, don't forget the importance of a promotion and supply chain in the olive oil sector. I think we have to deliver a very important part with the food system and with also schools. I'm thinking about the school meals, for example. It's very important to use olive oil as a fundamental product in educational projects to the children, to the students, about health, about supply chain, about the identity of our territory. So I don't want to take up any more of our speakers' time, so I will now hand over the floor to my colleague and friend, Carmen Crespo Diaz. Carmen is very, very active in Agri-Committee. She also is president of the PECH committee, and so thank you to be here. You have a very big experience coming from your country, dear Carmen, so we are very happy to hear you, and thank you to all of you again, to the organizers, the promoters. I sure we will have a very fruitful dialogue between all of us. Thank you again. Please, Carmen.
Thank you, Nardella, Mr. Nardella, Mr. De Caro, Mr. De Laos, and Metz. The meeting is very important for the oil, very important for agriculture. I am speaking Spanish, and I can speak very important point of the path TAP in the agriculture. En primer lugar, si vemos la dimensión, estamos hablando de 5,35 millones de hectáreas de olivar en Europa. Eso significa que cada uno de los países productores de olivar hemos ido hacia una zona que todos somos complementarios y nos necesitamos porque hemos evolucionado en un tema determinado, que nos hacemos falta todos nosotros.
If first of all, speaking about the dimension, right now in Europe, there's 5.35 million hectares of olive trees, and the market has developed in a way that is complementary, and we need each other, different producers that have been approaching the different areas for olive production.
España es la gran productora de olivar, bajo mi punto de vista. Italia y Grecia, los grandes comercializadores del aceite de oliva. Y Portugal, en este caso, los grandes transformadores, porque han transformado en olivar superintensivo gran parte del sur de Portugal.
Spain, in this way, as mentioned before, is one of the big producers in this market. And then Italy and Greece will be main exporters and the transformation. And Portugal also has been developing a big transformational industry in the south of the country.
En estos momentos, el olivar y los agricultores olivareros necesitan certidumbre para el futuro. Certidumbre que tiene que venir de la mano fundamentalmente también de la Unión Europea.
At the moment, what is more important right now is that the olive trees and the olive producers need certain things in order to produce, to have things for sure, and this certainty has to come from the European institutions.
En estos momentos los precios han variado muchísimo, desde un precio muy alto del aceite de oliva hasta ahora que tenemos por la producción el precio actual. Eso significa que la volatilidad de los precios es muy relevante en el sector y eso afecta mucho al agricultor en demasía. Por tanto, los mecanismos de mercado es una de las grandes actuaciones que tenemos que potenciar en Europa.
As you know, prices have varied in the last years. For some time ago, it was a really high price, and now it has descended to the actual pricing. But what is important is to see how volatility really affects the price of olive oil and how this punishes, in a way, the producers, and how important is that the fluctuations in prices ends up being a price to pay for the olive oil producer.
El almacenamiento privado con los precios actualizados es la gran demanda que tiene el sector en toda Europa.
The private saving of olive oil by private enterprises is a big demand coming from the sector all over Europe.
Y ahora tenemos un momento importante con la simplificación. Las cuestiones de olivar, el olivar no se puede quedar fuera de esta simplificación en el sector agrario. Y por tanto, para empezar, es verdad que hay diferente criterio al respecto, pero propongo encima de la mesa si cambiamos o no el panel de catas en estos momentos.
And now what is really important is the simplification that is coming on into the agricultural sector. Each olive producers and olive trees should be, of course, nailed into this simplification plan. They should not be left out. And this should come with a different criteria and the simplification of the tasting panels and the organization of the panels for how olive oil is treated.
Además de ello, yo creo que el olivar en estos momentos tiene que demostrar también aquí que es el gran aliado para la lucha contra el cambio climático. Para ello, primero se tiene que reconocer como que el bosque mediterráneo del olivar es sumidero de CO2 y eso es importante que se reconozca aquí en esta casa y desde luego que toda la transformación que estamos haciendo del olivar a través de la bioeconomía, porque el olivar se aprovecha absolutamente todo y hay gran generación en estos momentos de energía, den oportunidad a la inversión para que sigamos aportando a través de la economía circular del olivar gran parte de la lucha contra el cambio climático.
And it's important that to recognize here, especially in this house, to make clear that olive oils are a key element against the fight of climate change, because the Mediterranean forests of olive trees help soak in CO2 as one of the main components, and this should be recognized here in this parliament. And the investment that comes afterward in the circular economy with what has come afterwards is also another key part of the fight against climate change in which olive trees and olive oil could be very important, fundamental.
Desde hace muchos años Europa está luchando con los países miembros y con los agricultores en contra de la Xylella fastidiosa. Pero desde luego lo que sí tiene que coger también la Unión Europea es la batuta de la investigación contra la sanidad y a favor de la sanidad vegetal, porque en estos momentos ya no da para mucho más. Y si Europa apuesta económicamente por la sanidad vegetal, tendremos un paso o daremos un paso de gigante en la xylella y en otras plagas que se produzcan en el olivar.
And of course, the fight against the Xylella fastidiosa is key. And for this, what is required is a definitive investment from the European into plant health as a broad spectrum. But this will be generally the investment in research and development will be a big step forward, coming against all types of plagues and especially the case for Xylella fastidiosa.
No podemos quedarnos fuera de las directivas de prácticas comerciales desleales que en este momento se están desarrollando y cambiando en Europa. No podemos estar fuera de la OCM única y que además permita esos cambios que benefician al olivar. Y desde luego que la reserva de crisis tenga recursos económicos suficientes para todas las cuestiones climatológicas que está sufriendo el olivar en toda Europa.
And other themes that olive producers should be included in the new coming European legislation would be, there's the directive of unfair trading practices in the European market, the single CMO, the common market organizations, and it would be also important that the crisis reserve fund specifically allocates to what could happen to olive trees under certain climate conditions and problems.
Uno de los objetivos que tenemos que buscar también en el olivar es equilibrar la capacidad de acceso a las reservas hídricas. El olivar de regadío en estos momentos necesita equilibrar el agua. Podemos apostar por la economía circular y esto hacer que nuestro olivar sea más productivo, y especialmente cuando hemos sufrido en Europa 6 años de sequía ininterrumpida, dificultosa para el bosque mediterráneo del olivar.
In addition, we should find a balance, strike balance for the water usage of olive producers and for their access to water reserves enough to produce. And this also circular economy will be something to specifically use for this to secure it. And after 6 years of intense drought in most of Europe, Southern Europe, this is especially important and urgent.
Yo empezaba por la certidumbre. La certidumbre es que el primer pilar de la PAC se blinde para nuestros agricultores, para nuestros olivareros, y que en el segundo pilar le den la oportunidad de lo que decíamos, el regadío sostenible, la capacidad de innovación de nuevas tecnologías, la lucha por la sanidad vegetal y la capacidad de transformación de nuestro olivar para hacer un olivar del futuro y para la incorporación de los jóvenes agricultores.
And if we were speaking about certain certainties that we should be given to the olive oil sector, coming back to this, the first pillar of the common agricultural policy should be the first certainty that we should give to the olive oil producers and to secure this pillar for them. And of course, complementary on pillar number 2, the other issues that we already mentioned, like the health, the water usage, and the generational renewables for the coming producers.
El segundo pilar no se puede mezclar con los fondos de cohesión. Creemos que es un error y un retroceso para la innovación de nuestro sector olivarero.
And pillar 2 should never be mixed with the cohesion funds, because this will be detrimental for our producers and our olive oil sector in all Europe.
Desde luego, en el tema de los aranceles, comenzar que no es la primera vez que lo hemos sufrido, que además conocemos la situación con el olivar y con la aceituna de mesa, y yo creo que en estos momentos lo que tenemos que trabajar porque haya un buen sistema jurídico y una buena defensa de la diplomacia proactiva para el tema de los aranceles desde la Unión Europea hacia los países que en este momento, como es Estados Unidos, están planteando esos aranceles que desde luego queden en menos, porque nuestro sector agrario debería de quedarse fuera en el sentido de que no tenemos colchón. No es el aluminio, no es el sector del automóvil, que se ve muy afectado, pero este sector no tiene colchón para aguantar los aranceles. Lo hemos visto en la aceituna de mesa y está muy claro.
Coming to trade, the importance of tariffs, which is not the first time there's a threat of imposing tariffs into the olive oil sector, because it was first done to the olive specifically and not to the olive oil years ago. And we should really implement a system of diplomacy with certain juridical certainties coming from the European Union to, in this case, the United States, as a threat that should not be supported by the agricultural sector, and it should never be detrimental to them, because as other sectors might have certain reserves to survive these trade tariffs, is not the case of the agricultural or the olive oil sector. And this is why it will be so problematic that they pay the price of the tariffs.
El sector agrario no es solamente un sector agrícola, es un sector también comercial. Los acuerdos comerciales son habituales de la Unión Europea y van a seguir siendo habituales, pero tenemos que trabajar en ellos la reciprocidad y en este caso creo que tenemos que trabajar lo que Cercovis ha puesto encima de la mesa, que es la Oficina de Control de Importaciones. Eso para nosotros también es importante.
In this way, trade is always going to be a fundamental part of the agri sector, and we should be continuing with trading and trade relations that benefit us. But in this case, reciprocity should always be taken into account. And it's important to work in the line of what Commissioner Šefčovič mentioned, an office of control of the imports and the trading in order to make sure these are made in the right way.
Y finalizo ya agradeciendo a Nardella este encuentro, pero sobre todo pensando en que podemos trabajar juntos. He comenzado hablando de que Italia y Grecia son las grandes comercializadoras, España la gran producción y también, en este caso, Portugal la gran transformación. Tenemos un gran producto y uniéndonos y trabajando conjuntamente lo que ya conocemos entre nosotros y lo que cada uno ha desarrollado mejor, podemos ser cada día más fuertes. Gracias.
And finally, to conclude, thanking everyone again, Mr. Nardella, of course, and believing and advocating for, in a way, working together. Because if we have made clear that maybe Italy and Greece have become experts in commercializing and exporting this, Portugal maybe transforming Spain with planting. If we focus each on what we become best at, we can be stronger together. And we have to move forward working in what are our strengths. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carmen, for your very interesting speech. Starting from this idea to unify our energies. And I think we can think about a working group with our colleague Max. I also would like to say hello to the other colleagues present participating here now. And now we have the three speeches to introduce our discussion. Please don't be shy for any questions at the end of the speakers. I would like to start with Antonio De Caro, President of ENVI. Unfortunately, Antonio, in a few minutes has to go because they have a votation in the ENVI committee. But Antonio, please, the floor is you. I ask to all the speakers maximum 7-8 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the invitation. First of all, I wanted to thank Dario for inviting me. I also want to thank the European Food Forum for organizing this event and for the work it does with the Parliament representing the needs of the food supply chain. Today we are talking about extra virgin olive oil, an excellence of the European agri-food sector and one of the most unique products of our culture. I am very pleased to welcome and host here some representative of Apulia Olive Farms and Trade Association that represent the demands of producers and all the stakeholders of the supply chain. Olive oil industry has an important economic value, but for us it is much more. It represents the identity of our region, identity of our territories. Olive oil is an essential production for the European agri-food sector, with Italy ranking second in the world in terms of area, production and export after Spain. Italian production accounts for 16% of EU production and 10% of the world production. This heritage we must safeguard and protects from climate change and from pathogen, as happened in Puglia for Xylella fastidiosa. This is a very problem for my region, for Puglia, the region of south of Italy, the most important problem. The agricultural transition will require sacrifice on the parts of our farmers, which is with Europe must prepare to make sacrifice for them. We must demand a fund exclusively dedicated to the agricultural transition by aligning the objective of the CAP with the climate and the environment challenges of the Green Deal. Just as last week in plenary, thanks to work of Nardella and another member of parliament, important amendments to the European multi-annual budget were adopted. I want to close my speech by remembering my grandfather who was a farmer. For him, making oil was a source of pride, values that we must protect today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Antonio, also for your personal story about your family. Now we have Koen Dielen, Head of Unity Arable Crops and Olive Oil from DG Agri of European Commission. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, honorable members, guests. Thank you very much for the invitation for this, I think, very timely event. You already heard that it's time to talk about these issues. And I think the title very much encapsulates what we want to say. So indeed, olive oil is important. It's prominent in Europe, not only because we are the most important producer, trader, consumer, but as the MEPs have said, because it's part of our culture, it creates vibrant areas in the Mediterranean, and it's a crop very suitable for the Mediterranean, and we should cherish that. And I think this uniqueness of olive oil is also recognized in the Commission, and it's probably the only unit in the whole Commission where a unit is called after the olive oil, or as olive oil in the name. So that's my unit. And so today I wanted to just go through three things that we're doing in the team that I think are important for the sector, and also share some thoughts on those three things. So the first thing is that we monitor very closely the market for olive oil, production prices, trade, because indeed there is volatility, there's uncertainty, and we have to understand that. And by providing that information to the stakeholders, to everybody in the market, we can help them making good decisions. Second element I want to go into later is the marketing standards. They're also into that, but they assure that if we talk about extra virgin olive oil in Europe, in the world, that is actually extra virgin, that it's quality, and that we can market it as such. And the third point I will touch is how we work also internationally, because the EU is the biggest, but others are not standing still. And what are we doing internationally? So let's start with the markets. Yes, indeed, markets are very different. Last year, we were in a terrible situation from the production side, second best harvest in Spain, and very high prices. Today, it's a completely different situation, and also the prospects for the next harvest look very good in most of the Mediterranean area. So we have to look at that, but what I think the message we have, or the lesson we have to take out of that is that the demand has been strong. Even at high prices, consumers were willing to pay for this quality product. And that's something that we should remember. The demand is very resilient. The same happened in the COVID times. We saw a lot of products having problems on the market, but consumers actually turned to olive oil because they all of a sudden got even more interested in health and good attributes and quality. And that's what we should cherish. This effect on COVID was even more pronounced in the US, where demand increased during COVID. And it showed the importance of the US market for the European sector. And that's also why it is so important in the current geopolitical uncertainty that we pay attention to the olive oil, that we pay attention to the EU leadership on the American olive oil market, and that we try to avoid outcomes that are not good for the European sector. But as you know, it's very volatile there as well. So let's see. And of course, and I always like to stress that everything we do in trade negotiations is also an opportunity for the sector. We have opened the market to Mercosur, we have opened the market to New Zealand, South Korea, Japan. Again, they're looking for this quality. And there's other negotiations ongoing, India, Philippines, where again, there's a segment really ready to pay for quality. So you see, I stress quality, which makes then the jump to my second point is this marketing standards. The olive oil marketing standards really contribute to the production and the marketing of this highest quality by defining all these categories and the characteristics. I know it's not always easy. It's complicated chemical parameters. There's the organoleptic testing. We have to update the standards with new science, but it's best we can do. And we have to make sure that the consumer can trust the label, the certification, and the quality of the product. So that's why we put so much effort. And also internationally, I want to remind you, or if you were not yet aware, that last year, after years of discussions, we managed to agree in the Codex Alimentarius on a standard for olive oil, which is very, very close, not identical, I recognize, but very, very close to the European standard. So we have the standard in the Codex Alimentarius, which we should use if we trade internationally. And another very important pillar of our international work is the International Olive Council. This council also works on standards, technical outreach, scientific discoveries, and this is a member-driven organization. And the EU, which is represented by our unit, has by far the biggest share of votes there. But by being proactive there, setting the agenda, we can make sure that what happens in the EU is also what happens in the other countries, because IOC is for all the countries a legally binding obligation. So it's very important we're active in the IOC as a united EU front. Together, this represents over 90% of the world olive oil production. So if you can do something there, it really makes a difference. So then finally, looking at the future and the challenges, because indeed we must not be complacent. We have to focus on our quality, on the terroir, but other countries are not standing still, and they're investing. They're investing in intensive and super intensive production, and they will soon be on the market. So we have to make sure that we market our product well. And then there's challenges. There's climate change, which was mentioned. There's diseases like Xylella, and we have to work on them to make sure that we keep the production. But there's also the need, and it was also mentioned before, for generational renewal. We have to make sure that we are not abandoning trees, that the trees are used, that there is a modern sector, that production is ensured. And here the Commission is preparing, after summer, a dedicated strategy on the generation renewal, which will focus on that. And the olive oil is one of the sectors that should be able to benefit from this new strategy. So in summary, indeed, olive oil is part of our culture, healthy diets, modern sector. And I think with the support of all the stakeholders, with some policy, it has a very nice future, and we should be able to overcome these challenges. But again, this is why it's timely, why it's good we have this meeting, so that we can talk about the challenges, and hopefully I can take something home as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Dille. Your focus on the commerce and trade and the opportunity of the new markets is very, very, I think, useful. And also the reflection on the International Olive Council and the last aspect about the regeneration of trees, which is, I think, one of the crucial points. For many aspects, I think, talking with many farms producers that are here now, I understood that we have to copy some positive experiences from wine sector, for example, in order to regenerate plants and trees. Okay, so now we have finished this introduction of the three fellow colleagues, and now we have the third one. Sorry, Chiara Poricelli. Hello, Chiara. Welcome. The president and CEO of Pietro Poricelli, which is one of the most important Italian companies based in Calabria. So the floor is yours, and we are very curious to have your experience as an important actor in this sector, but not only at the national level, but European. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm very honored to be here. And we have been talking about olive oil and how the tradition, especially in Spain and Italy, every one of us has memories related to extra virgin olive oil. Family, it is a meaningful product. But what's the future of olive oil and what's the role of industry? I'm running the family company from three generations. I'm the third one actually, and the fourth one is about to come. But the industry has a strategic role in the supply chain, especially thinking about a sustainable supply chain. I just want to take a few minutes to tell you the model that we try to figure out to make the role of the industry a new role, more sustainable, more adapt to see in the future. We are nothing without production. We need production, and we need high quality production to be leading the markets. But the supply chain is not limited only to the two players, production and industry. We need consumers, and to have consumers, we need distribution. In this sense, we started working in 2021 with the first sustainable supply chain agreement with an association of olive oil growers in Italy, in Puglia, to give the olive oil growers the right fair pay. Fair pay means give a sense not only to the actual growers, but to the new generations to stay. Means that they will have enough money that is not the one given by the market, is something more. And with that small something more, and with the consistency of purchasing of the products, not only this year, not only next year, but for 5 years, we can give the olive oil growers a stability and let them plan for new investment and to adapt to the new policies that sustainability requires. So the quality of the products that we are going to have as industry will be the one that new consumer that will be more conscious will ask in the market. After this good experience that is going ahead, reaching 400,000 kilos per year, more or less, with this new, signed by Italian farmers product, that is an extra virgin olive oil bottle dedicated to this agreement. In 2024, we decided to go deeper and to apply the same concept of this agreement with the local regional Umbria olive oil producer. So we tried to get the small producer taking their product into the cooperative and make a bottle that was a Umbria protected denomination of origin bottle, a super high quality extra virgin olive oil, the one that in our memories we used to go to the millers and get in the big bag. Today is going to be available in the supermarkets. And this has a double sense. First of all, Umbria is one of the regions with a higher level of abandoned fields because it's very hard to grow olives in Umbria because of the specific geography. We don't have intensive growing at all. But it's a small region with a high quality biodiversity varieties. So our purpose was to say, okay, we will buy a big quantity, consistent quantity for all the small producers that are not strong enough to place that oil in their specific bottle with their label. We will produce a label going to the supermarket with full product traceability, with fair pay for the olive growers. We will place on the bottle, and this is what we have done, the logo of Umbria region, because we really want to promote our territory. And finally, this product, starting in 2025, has reached the supermarket. And this drives me to the second role of the industry. The industry has to promote a conscious buyer. The conscious buyer is the buyer that is not only reaching the price, the best price on the market. We know that is a social theme to provide extra virgin olive oil for all the budgets. There are several different needs in the market. But the conscious buyer is the one who wants to have more information about the products, reading the label, The conscious buyer is the one who's receiving new information thanks to the new technologies, like adopting what we have done in the past. We have adopted the blockchain technology through IBM Food Trust to tell the story of the product, which kind of analysis, the organoleptical analysis, the chemical analysis, that batch, the single batch of product has been passed before going to the bottle. And a conscious buyer will not hopefully see exclusively the price, but will start reading a label. Reading a label means being aware of what he's buying and what he's eating. And we perfectly know that not all the extra virgin olive oil are the same. And the level of price will not be anymore the only way of judging a product, but probably the consumer will ask for more information, receiving them more. In this sense, our role, the industry, will close the circle of value. So being involved on a side with farmers, giving them the fair pay for what they do. They care about our olive groves. They produce a high quality extra virgin olive oil in order to enable us to create a conscious consumer on the other side. In this sense, distribution is still missing, but I'm 100% sure that step by step we'll try to involve the distribution supermarket chains worldwide in this new talk about extra virgin olive oil and the future of extra virgin olive oil. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Chiara, for your topics, your very available speech, starting from the contributor of industry on sustainability, but also the crucial role of the various consumers and the central role of information. I'm thinking about the labeling and also the digital labeling, on which we are discussing about not only wine but also olive oil extra virgin. And another very interesting point for the other for the audience about the very complexity of the expression extra virgin, because extra virgin is a very big box and we put everything in this very big box, so we must be well informed and aware about as many uses we can do there. Okay, thank you very much. Now let's move to another aspect, scientific aspect. Yes, the Xylella. So we have Francesco Visioli, professor of human nutrition, University of Padua. He is connected online. So welcome virtually here, dear professor. You have 7 minutes for your speech. Thank you again. The floor is yours.
Oh, thanks to you. I would like to thank the European Food Forum y también agradecer muchísimo a su señoría Crespo Díaz. Coincido totalmente con lo que ha dicho. Tenemos que juntarnos y aprovechar il tirone. Sì, grazie mille ovviamente all'onorevole Nardella. Restiamo in contatto. So I only have 5 minutes to convince you that olive oil is the only food studied in humans. Okay? This is very important because we are Mediterraneans and sometimes we downplay our role in science. Very important. There are 2 kinds of olive oil. One is plain olive oil and the other one is extra virgin olive oil. So what's the difference? The difference is that extra virgin olive oil is not just fat. Corn oil is fat, seed oil is just fat, but not extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil contains very interesting compounds, which are unique to extra virgin olive oil, okay? It contains polyphenols, and this is the most important one. It's called hydroxytyrosol. And this is found only in extra virgin olive oil. Oleuropein, hydroxytyrosol, very, very important because this is what differentiates olive oil from other fats. How do we know? Oh, you take good olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, healthy olive oil. Healthy olive oil is bitter, has a very strong taste because it contains lots of polyphenols. More polyphenols, better taste. This is very important for consumers, super important for consumers. high quality, high taste, okay? Another very important thing, we published this in the year 2000. These compounds are absorbed. So you eat extra virgin olive oil and you absorb polyphenols. Very important, because sometimes we study things that are not absorbed, but these are absorbed. So it's super important because we know exactly what they do. This is very complicated, but just to show you that we know everything about hydroxytyrosol and what happens in your body. So you take extra virgin olive oil and we know exactly what happens to the polyphenols that you eat. So research is very, very advanced. So what do they do? What does olive oil do to your health? And what do polyphenols do to your health? First of all, nothing on cholesterol. Stop it, okay? It's about time to stop this cholesterol and olive oil thing. Very minor effects. It's not me who says that, it's science. You don't believe me, believe science. You don't believe science, believe money. You cannot write it on the label. If you write on your label that olive oil lowers cholesterol, they take you to court, okay? You cannot do it. No, money never lie. My idea is that science, we might get it wrong. Money is never wrong, okay? Money is never wrong. So what do they do? This is very interesting, I think. This is just a paper we published a few years ago with my postdoc, which was also called Crespo. By the way, it's a coincidence, but they do lots of things. You know, it's in between pharmacology and nutrition. We can isolate olive oil polyphenols, and when we study their antioxidant effects, the anti-inflammatory effects, plenty of things. So let's go to human in the next couple of minutes. Let's go to human health. Cancer and neurodegeneration, we don't know much. When you hear that olive oil prevents cancer, maybe yes, maybe no. When you hear that olive oil prevents Alzheimer, maybe yes, maybe no. We still need to study. Very, very complicated and very difficult studies, very expensive studies. What do we know is the cardiovascular system. So people who use extra virgin olive oil have lower cardiovascular disease. Why? Is it a coincidence or is it extra virgin olive oil? I'm just going to show you two studies. They're being performed in Spain. This is called the PREDIMED, Prevención con Dieta Mediterránea, which is the largest nutritional study ever performed. What did they do? They took subjects with high cardiovascular risk, so high cholesterol, high blood pressure, inflammation, and they divided into three groups. And I think the third group is the most important one, because this is what your doctor tells you. Don't eat fat. You have a high cholesterol, don't eat fat. You have hypertension, don't eat fat. You have familiarity, don't eat fat, reduce fat. So this was the control diet. But they also give some people the Mediterranean diet supplemented with nuts, and also some other people a Mediterranean diet supplemented with extra virgin olive oil. What did they find? That the Mediterranean diet with extra virgin olive oil lower mortality. So this is mortality, slowly people are starting to die, but not, less those who used extra virgin olive oil. This is another very important study. I am one of the cardio-prive investigators. This was carried out in Cordoba at the Maimonides hospital. These were people who already had a myocardial infarction. So again, they divided into two groups. Low fat, don't eat fat. You already had an infarction. Enough is enough, don't eat fat. But the other group, they told them, eat as much fat as you want, but it must be extra virgin olive oil. So one group, don't eat fat. You already had an infarction. The other group, you had an infarction. You can eat as much fat as you want, but stay away from animal fat and use extra virgin olive oil. What did they find? 26% reduction in mortality in people who used extra virgin olive oil. So I would just like to, I hope I convinced you that extra virgin olive oil and its polyphenols, and we come back to that in the next 30 seconds, are the most extensively studied foods in humans. There's no green tea, there's no blueberries, no coffee, no cocoa, no red wine, whatever. We are working on that, but the most extensively studied food is extra virgin olive oil, which is really bizarre if you think about it. There are no American funds, there are no limited fundings, but lots of science. So we know a lot about extra virgin olive oil and its polyphenols. So low quality olive oil has very few effects. Low quality olive oil with no polyphenols, very minor effects. But the good one is extra virgin olive oil. And extra virgin olive oil has health effect on the cardiovascular system. Maybe on cancer, I think so. We don't have data. Maybe on Alzheimer, I think so. We don't have data yet. I'm convinced, but we don't have data. And also, if you know your olive oil, if you know how to use high quality olive oil, you eat more salad. And if you know how to choose extra virgin olive oil, if you spend money for your extra virgin olive oil, you also spend money for good cheese, good meat, good sausage, good vegetables. You eat less animal fat. You eat fewer calories because extra virgin olive oil is is very flavorful. You don't need much. It's expensive, but you use less. Okay, and many other things. And then, remember, this is my final message. There's a strong link between the quality of what you eat and your health. What you introduce in your body is very important for your health. So stop buying the cheapest food you can find. Buy the highest quality food you can find. Okay. And in the case of olive oil, this applies to everything. Buy the most expensive and most high quality cheese. Buy the most expensive and highest quality wine. Highest quality vegetables. Highest quality fish. Highest quality meat if you eat meat. So look for quality. And in the case of olive oil, spend money on extra virgin olive oil, spend money on the highest quality polyphenol rich olive oil you can find. And I would like to thank you again for inviting me here today. I only had 5 minutes, but I hope I convinced you that we know a lot about extra virgin olive oil. And thank you again.
Is also very useful to be more beautiful because, for example, I use a body cream based on olive oil. And to be honest, it's very not because I'm beautiful. It's very. Anyway, this is a very interesting aspect. So when we talk about labeling, we only remark the negative aspects. No? We never discuss about not commercial but institutional communication about the positive aspects, and indeed olive oil extra virgin polyphenol difference is really best. But sorry, I only want to spend a few seconds telling you an example. Do you know some people when they are at a restaurant and they saying to the workers, to people, so this olive oil is not good, please, I would have a fresh olive oil extra virgin. Never. Many times for wine. Many people, they taste wine and they give back the wine because it's not good, the smell is not good. This example is, for me, is very clear in order to know that people are not very conscious and aware of all those aspects and information. That's why we must invest a lot of energy information. Okay, but very interesting, this speech from Professor Visioli. Now we have Atanasia Maria Dooru, co-founder and chief technology officer of EVOO. So about advanced traceability solutions, including DNA-based technologies. So thank you to be here, dear Atanasia. You are connected even, and welcome virtually. The floor is yours for these 7 minutes.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, I would like to thank you all for the introduction and for having me here today. It's the first time that I participate in this event. So very briefly, we all know, and we mentioned it before, that extra virgin olive oil is considered one of the most important products for the Mediterranean countries, and it represents a landmark of our cultural heritage. And of course, it is deeply connected to local communities. Unfortunately, its high value and health benefits has transformed it into a primary target for fraud, either through adulteration or admixtures with other vegetable oils, or even lower quality olive oil. And this reflects a great economic loss for the European Union on an annual basis. If we would like to break down the impact of fraud, we can identify a cascade of events, starting from promoting unfair competition, undermining its health benefits, and jeopardizing the value of extra virgin olive oil, that of course it has a significant impact also at the level of local communities, but also producers. Extra virgin olive oil, due to its liquid nature, it is quite easy to admix, and it doesn't really require any complex technologies in order to achieve this. However, over the years, several methods have been employed in order to combat fraudsters, starting from analytical methods and going all the way to the most recent Internet of Things and blockchain traceability solutions. However, today I would like to briefly introduce you the DNA-based authentication and how it can enhance not only traceability, but also act as a complementary asset next to the aforementioned solutions, offering a powerful tool against olive oil fraud. DNA-based authentication and traceability can actually fill in the gaps of the other methods that other methods cannot, since it goes deeper than the analytical methods and it can trace the content and not just a label. It can be applied in all the stages of the olive oil supply chain, starting from the olive orchard all the way to the store, and therefore it provides immutable information about the genetic identity of the extra virgin olive oil. A DNA-verified and traceable EVOO offers transparency and trust to a label, while it differentiates it in this competitive market. Moreover, the last years, there are actually hard evidence that molecular markers utilized in the varietal identification of olives and olive oil can determine the origin, but also can detect the presence of other plant oils. From Bioco's perspective, we have developed DNA-based methods for the authentication and traceability of extra virgin olive oil in order to deliver and offer to companies what we call a holy trinity of transparency, differentiation, and trust. And our motto is that we trace what you taste. Now, before I conclude my presentation, I would like briefly to mention that currently we have the opportunity to work alongside the Bavarian Food Safety Authority, the LGL, and more specifically, Dr. Ingrid Uber's team, under the umbrella of InnoBuyer, that it is an EU fund, with the goal to deliver the first DNA-based method that will be able to detect adulteration of extra virgin olive oil with other vegetable oils. What we hoped and we envision for the future of EVOO has a dual scope. On the one hand, we want to valorize high-end extra virgin olive oil of local producers who represent the cornerstone of our primary sector, safeguard our cultural heritage, and on the other side, we would like to protect the industry against fraudulent actions. So what we do is that we work towards a more transparent, sustainable, and trustworthy high-end extra virgin olive oil. We welcome you to join us and leverage the power of DNA. Thank you very much for your attention.
And thank you to you, dear Anastasia Maria. It's very interesting also this second point of view on the biotechnological aspects. And now we have a last contribution on the scientific aspects, especially regarding the Xylella fastidiosa that we already mentioned. We have here Maria Saponari, researcher in plant pathology and Institute of Sustainable Plant Protection of Italian National Research Council, and Ahmed Seyar Rashidi, MedMic startup. So you can share your 7 minutes. Floor is yours, please, Maria.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
So good afternoon to everyone, and I will go briefly. Thanks for inviting me to this event, and to Xylella was mentioned several times. I will go briefly into the yes. I will go briefly into the situation that was determined by the inadvertent introduction of this bacterium, and then the spread in olives and the epidemics we are facing. In the tools and measures we have to control, to counteract the bacterium. We still do not have any therapeutic measure that can cure completely a tree. And then what the research program programs are building as opportunity to restore these territories, as well as to strengthen the prevention of this pathogen in other area that are at high risk. The next slide include just a snapshot of which are the actors of this unfortunate situation. First of all is the high susceptibility of olives. We have in mind that olive is a super resistant plant that we have century millennium trees that counteract several stresses and adverse conditions, but unfortunately this tiny bacterium find the olive as a very vulnerable plant, combined with that small insect is like a mosquito in the human disease. So unfortunately, this insect is quite indigenous in Europe and abundant in our region. And then the good temperature. Next slide. And in fact, in the next slides, you can see the map of the Europe based on the risk for introduction and the spread of Xylella. You see that all the coastal area where olive production occurs is under high risk. Next slide. And the other condition that next is important is that unfortunately in this disease we have olive plant-to-plant transmission. So it's not like in other disease where you have a transmission to weeds, to grasses, but we have olive-to-olive transmission. And so without a cure, a therapeutic solution, we need to reduce the source of inoculum because an infected tree can infect all the healthy trees around. The next slide. To develop for this new disease in 2013 was a new disease that appeared in southern Italy and an exotic bacterium for Europe. Next slide. Research was the key to acquire scientific knowledge, and I indicate in this slide a best practice because actually this was an exercise of a best coordination between the research community and the European Commission, because the European Commission was very keen, was the first institution to fund research on Xylella fastidiosa, and since 2015 has kept putting funds in for continuing the research on Xylella fastidiosa. This is the first example in plant pathology, and so we have several projects ongoing that ensured a long-term research program which are necessary for this complex pathogen. Next slide. And to this, I have to say that another important actor in this coordination of the research on Xylella is the European Food Safety Agency, EFSA, which, next slide, which was the link between the research and the European Commission, in particular with the DG Santé. So all the scientific knowledge which were promptly acquired in the transferred to the European legislation, in the European legislation. Next slide. This is the next slide, just to show you that it never happened before that for a pathogen so many legislative measures were promulgated in a so short time, and this was because of this connection. Next slide. And actually, what we can do is prevention and containment. Prevention is mainly done by them. It's important that all member states make a surveillance on the territory to early detect the pathogen, but it's important for containment to have stronger plants that can resist to the infection. Next slide. And this is what is the future in our region, and so to help the growers to restore their productivity and to give a future to the agriculture sector. Next slide. And to do that, we need resistant variety, and this is the key, because we have very limited, at the moment we have a very limited number of resistant varieties. So the bed of Xylella was then the boosted to activate breeding programs to combine plants that are resistant to Xylella, but also resistant to water stress, as it was mentioned, but also that combine good agronomical feature, which allow the new plantation to be mechanized, and so with plants that allow the innovation to bring innovation. So at the end, it was a boost for this that was very needed. Next slide to conclude is that we hope also that this process, the problem is that it takes a long time. Next slide. We hope that with the openness of the European Commission to the genome editing approaches, this can help to reduce, to make more effective the program of improvement. And I conclude taking a point that was raised by Mrs. Crespo regarding the investment in the infrastructure. Next slide. For the biosecurity, because at the moment, at the national, but also at the European level, we lack infrastructure of biocontainment to do both control on the plants that Europe imports, but also to allow researchers to do activity. And at the moment, for example, we are using donations, like Ellen Mirren is one of the actors that has spent a lot of initiative to support building the quarantine facility. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Saponari. And let's move immediately to Saya Rashidi. She's online. Who's online?
Yes, I am online. Thanks. Hello. Hope you can hear me. Thanks for the organized team to invite me. Thanks for European Food Forum and also Mario Ricardo. I'll just share my screen. I just want to make a follow-up from Maria also. What can we do for better prevention, but also helping out to treating this disease? And here in MedMic, and what we have developed is that a peptide which targets both the pathogen but also the vector. So right now, Maria gave a brief, what's called a comprehensive introduction to fastidiosa, but I will not do that too much. Let me put my pointer, sorry. So Xylella fastidiosa, of course, as Maria discussed, is targeting the olive trees, but you also have the vector, which is transferring them from trees to trees. So you have the tree transmission. And current measurement is using pesticides to manage this. However, you will have a biodiversity loss, so there is no solution to target the pathogen itself, and the pesticides only target the vector. While this epidemic is happening, you see a significant loss in olive trees. It's not only the infected trees you're losing, but also the healthy trees, because if you have an affected trees, you need to uproot a neighbor tree so you stop the transmission to the neighbor farms, and this have a significant impact both on the olive decline, but also in farmers' lives. And some of these trees we need to think about, they are more than 1,000 years old, so they have both cultural and historical value. And while we can plant new trees, we are losing these big impacts farmers have. So Maria, I'll just move this one a little up. Maria showed a similar graph that how the spread, where the disease is currently going. So currently we have more than 60 million trees being killed and more than 37 million at risk. And earlier in the talk, we heard that each olive trees has significant global climate effects because they can absorb more than 730 kilos of CO2. So that can also change the climate later on. 1 second. Oh, sorry. The economic aspect is like just in Italy alone, we have a 1.6 billion annual loss, where more than 100 million is yearly spent in only management of this disease. And right now focusing on reducing the vector spread, but also targeting the pathogen because there's currently no cure for the pathogen. And we also see a degradation of the soil caused by this disease. So in MedMec, we have developed a more natural-based, sustainable CRISPR-Cas technology, which we genetically modified the mycelium. Mycelium is a fungi to produce a peptide which can target the pathogen itself. And what in vitro studies have shown, we have they have more than threefold reduction in Xylella fastidiosa, inhibition of the biofilm inflammation, and the product of MedMec can also target the vector which is spreading because the mycelium, some of the strains we are using can internally kill the vectors, but mycelium have also been shown to reduce nitrate in the soil, so it's also enhancing the soil health for longer, for better protection. And the mycelium itself doesn't integrate inside of the crops, so you do not have any GMO issues, even though you are genetic modifying these mycelium. So I will just briefly, not in detail, go in the mechanism of action of what we have. So the peptides we're producing is antimicrobial peptides. It's both delaying the evolution of the pathogen. So some of these bacteria, they're slowly adapting to the new environment they are in. So even if you're using pesticides, but if you're using some of these peptides we're using, you can delay the evolution. They have a faster killing than compared to normal antibiotics, and they also have a strong synergism. So like I mentioned, the mycelium we're using is from the mushrooms. This is the spore likes, and what we do is we genetically adding doing a knock-in in a few genes where we're producing the specific peptides we need. And what the peptides is doing is it's inhibiting the cell wall of the pathogen, so the Xylella fastidiosa, inhibiting activity, but also destroying it internally, so the bacteria is dying off. So this was just a brief. I'm not going to go too much detail. We can always discuss this later, because I don't have much time. So current measurements, there's several different companies trying to manage the disease currently happening in Italy. Some of them is targeting the soil, some of them is targeting the vector itself. However, none of them is basically targeting the pathogens, which is the Xylella fastidiosa. And well, what we are trying to do is we're using the mycelium to improve soil health and also destroying the vector, but also we're producing a peptide which is really necessary to killing these pathogens. So our vision is basically using this mycelium peptide technology to protect crops, enhancing ecosystems, also ensuring sustainable future, because our technology doesn't only apply to olive trees, but it can also apply to citrus and almond trees, where you also have similar gram-negative bacteria destroying the crops, where this technology can be used for. And this is the current team where we have my co-founder Gohan, which is a food scientist. We have a molecular biologist helping out the genetic editing, and of course our strategic advisors Jose and Mario, which have been immense help during the whole process. So our goal in our company is to protect your future by basically with our product Microlea. And I give the word back to the organizer. Thanks.
Thank you, Ahmad. Thank you very much. Your experience is very interesting about how important are the European funds. And also Carmen Crespo Diaz underlined this aspect about the European funds, how to address investment and also for research. And so Mr. Dillon already remind us the importance of regeneration. And regeneration is one of the key factor to find solution and to overcome this huge problem. We saw the economic and social impact, how huge is going, still. So thank you very much. And then we have the last section with the protagonists, some of the protagonists, so the producer, the farmers, about experiences at local level. And we touched a lot of points, so the quality, the information, the supply chain. We had a voice of an important industrial subject, and now we can hear a smaller but very experienced subject. So let's start with Johnny Brunetti, the owner of Frantoio Brunetti. How much time we have, Luisella?
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Vai, Johnny.
Vai. Then, okay.
Possiamo passare velocemente.
Okay.
Ok, giusto per l'introduzione all'agenda. Ok, thank you. We produce in Chianti Classico, a small region in the heart of Tuscany, between Siena and Florence. We are specialized in extra virgin olive oil, and we decide to manage the entire product chain. We have olive tree. We have our own olive mill, and we are distributing our extra virgin olive oil in every country. The next is Luisella. Okay, yeah.
Next one.
Next one. Okay. Moreover, we share about the extra virgin olive oil in Salta. Actually, we have opened some stores where visitors can learn how to test and purchase this fantastic product. Also on receipts from every business. The next, please. The extra virgin olive oil production is a crucial cultural, social, and economic factor for many communities bordering in the Mediterranean. Now, I would like to draw your attention to the reality of my territory's production that can also be found in the other parts of Italy, Spain, Greece, and the other Mediterranean. This is the artisan olive brewing that operates of completely different dynamics to the industrial house. The next, please. Ancora? Ok. Andiamo avanti ancora?
Next.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
The essential aspect of our olive growing system are the preservation of our territory, the biodiversity of our olive groves, and the maintenance of the olive's germplasm diversity. All those aspects permit us to manufacture product with a strong territorial characterization. This type of olive grown can only exist and be economically sustainable if it is produce high quality oils. Avanti. It is a driving force behind the research and innovation in the olive sector, leading to agronomic and mechanical innovation in the fields and the processing sales, such as olive meal. Prossima. As already mentioned, I strongly believe that extra virgin olive oil will have a great future in front, but it is crucial to remember that within this family, there are different qualities of extra virgin olive oil. Therefore, it is extremely important to create a right culture behind this product. We must remember that beyond the eating pleasure, not to be underestimated, we can easily say, focusing on this chemical composition, that the tester and extra virgin olive oil is, and there it is. If we don't create a and it persists on the industrial idea of olive production, where all the work is based on highly productive cultivar, planting layout, and olive mill, with a single purpose to win new markets, dropping day after day production, and the selling price of extra virgin olive oil will bring the extra virgin olive oil to a production standardization and the QRU quality level of product worldwide. La prossima è l'ultima. Last but not least, all this will lead the extra virgin olive oil to higher fraud risk that will lead the extra virgin olive oil to the risk to be replaced with the other industrial oil of any kind, losing job, culture, territorial design, and inflation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much to Gianni Brunetti. Indeed, the reflection on the huge heritage of cultivar we have in Europe is very important. Biodiversity and richness of different varieties is another crucial aspect that I think we have to take on the table. Now we have Maria Francesca Di Martino, l'azienda agricola di Martino. Ecco.
In front of you.
Welcome and please.
Thank you very much for the invitation. The organization asked me to speak about to share with you my experience in olive grove and in extra virgin olive oil production. And I usually introduce myself by telling that I'm a lucky woman. I'm lucky because my ancestors owned olive grove in Apulia since 1647. That means about 400 years of history in this activity. And I'm lucky also because I'm located, my farm, my company is located in Puglia. Puglia is a region that has about 60 million of olive trees. I always say when I speak with the children that in Puglia, each Italian has is olive trees. And my company has two different fields of activity. One related with the olive grove, and so with the agronomical aspect of the olive grove. The second one is related with the extra virgin olive oil production. And we are located in Trani, that is very near to the little town of Corato. Corato is really near, and Corato is the homeland of Coratina. I always say that Coratina is one of the best olive variety, because it is rich on polyphenol, but really very rich. It's one of the richest variety of olive, and in polyphenol, in vitamin E, and in antioxidant. That means that really the extra virgin olive oil of great quality made with this olive can be called the liquid gold of humanity. That is also the title of this meeting. But not only the liquid gold of humanity, I usually say that it's the liquid gold of the health of humanity. But as a Coratina lover, but also as the president of the consortium of PGI Olio di Puglia, I felt I had really a mission about Coratina to preserve this variety, because like many others, we have now, I don't know why, I'm not a scientific professor, perhaps for the climate change, perhaps for that all the producers choose to make the harness in a yearly period. Well, we don't know why, but there is a problem with the Coratina that I think really it's my mission, like the president of the consortium of PGI, that we have to preserve this variety from their lack on total sterol. And I ask for your help with the olive, the council of international council, and with all the countries that are involved in olive grove and in production of extra virgin olive oil. I'm talking about an old parameter that does not consider the quality of the product, but only the amount of the sterols that is in the oil. Coratina, but also other cultivars have in its genetic the request quantity that the law requires, risking each year not to be certified or EVOO, despite it's really a liquid gold of the health of humanity. It's the liquid gold of our era, of Puglia. This paradox has been discussed for about 3 years by now, but the time to define this situation must be speed up, really speed up. And for this, I ask really the help of the all you, because companies cannot bear this very, very, very delicate position for much longer. And so I share the opportunity, the challenge of quality, but also the problem involved with the quality, because the total sterol and Coratina is a consequence of the choose to produce high quality. In the past, we have not this problem, and that is.
Thank you very much for your experience. And now we have the last experience, and then we have the audience. I would like to welcome Maps Vandes Garcia. And let's move to Bernardo Bianchi, di Colle Bereto. He's online. Bernardo. Yes, we heard you. Hello, Bernardo. You have 5 minutes for your last speech.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Sorry.
But we cannot see you. Is normal? Is it normal?
Can you via video? Just a second. Can you see me?
Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Bernardo Bianchi, and I've been the manager of Colle Bereto Farm, owned by Pinzauti family, for 25 years. We are a small organic company that produces mainly wine, but also extra virgin olive oil in Radda-Chianti, Tuscany. We have around 3,000 olive trees that we manage directly with our staff. Probably are the smallest producers. We only make one type of extra virgin olive oil, and the sales is almost exclusively to people who come to visit us at the winery, mainly Americans. The rest of our production goes directly to our restaurants in Tuscany, only a small part in Japan and Sweden. I think we should invest more in the promotion of extra virgin olive oil. We will have to teach its value to all those European citizens who do not use it now and who have absolutely no idea what extra virgin olive oil is. In this regard, I would like to tell you a funny story for the Tuscan consumers of olive oil. When a few years ago I gave some bottles of freshly pressed extra virgin olive oil to our Swedish wine importer. A few years later, invited by him, he proudly showed me that he had stored the oil in the cellar together with wine. For me, it was clearly a blow to the heart. This made me understand that even people who work in the world of wine and who are supposed to be more predisposed to recognize the value and the quality of a product are not able to understand how to use extra virgin olive oil. I believe that the future of this sector depends a lot on how good we are at making extra virgin olive oil appreciated by an ever-increasing public which ignores our lifestyle and our way of behaving in the kitchen. Making people understand that in addition to test how it's growing is also important. This is why organic farming must be strongly supported. Unfortunately, it's much more difficult. The biggest problem in agriculture, especially in olive growing, for example, is finding skilled labor that know how to prune Tuscan olive trees. We still have Roberto here for pruning today, who was born in Collevereto 75 years ago, and he has always managed our olive grove. He learned how to prune olive trees at primary school. We should think to continue olive growing in the direction of simplification and safety without disturbing our landscape, also to attract younger generation. In any case, we have been cultivating oil and wine in these wonderful territories for millennia of years. We have the duty to maintain this tradition for the future generation. Preserving the culture of good and beautiful, especially by valorizing farmers and the place where they live. In this sense, the European community can do a lot. I invite you all to visit Collevereto Raddanchianti. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bernardo. Thank you also for the invitation. We can organize Xylella next meeting if you want on olive oil in Raddanchianti, which is very close to my city, Florence, and then in Spain, of course. Could suggest us unbelievable places. So we finished our very, very rich and fruitful discussion. Thank you to the local production farmers because you demonstrate us how important is protection. And with the experience about a bigger company like Oricelli, we understood one aspect. We can't discuss about industry and local production and small farmers. The very value is the quality. You can have a quality, good information, good performance in industry, as well as in the small farmers. You can have good industrial producer and good local farmer producer and bad industrial producer and bad local farmers producers. So this is the real challenge. About it, that challenge is also how we can combine very
Just to show you the light.
Thank you. It's bad. See, this is the one. Is this Merlot?
No, this is Sangiovese, Sangue di Giove. And you can see here all the
this Sangiovese, the typical. Thank you. So, to be concluded, one of the challenges is also how we can combine affordable price for the people, for consumers, and high quality of the products. This is one of the challenge. Also because we had to keep up our farmers and also the incomes, the revenues also to survive in many cases. So, thank you very much. Now we have a session, a Q&A session with all speakers. So don't shy, please. We also have other maps and The floor is yours if you have some questions, comments.
Otherwise, it's start.
May I break the ice?
Absolutely, yes.
I'm Gabriella Ceccarelli, proud coming from Umbria. Thank you to Chiara Coricelli for sharing his very excellent experience. And I would love to ask if you think that being in a GIAHS area like the olive belt, Assisi, Spoleto, okay, through the towns of Assisi, Campello, Trevi to Spoleto, could be a driver to enhance the connection among the culture and the sustainability of growing trees and producing oil, and at the same time preserving our identity and cultural identity in each of our territories, of course. So the first, Umbria has this recognition from 2018, okay? And we are candidated in 23 for UNESCO recognition. So, and I know that also Spain have such, we are all, at the moment we have also 5 GIAHS recognized, and also Spain. And so I would love to think if you consider that a driver or.
It is definitely a driver, but we should open a little bit our view and understand that the world is bigger than the one we see. So information about the geography of our premium products is a niche topic for the moment. So far is a niche topic. Then we have massive consumers that still do not know about the product, how good it is for the health, how different varieties can enrich your table with different meals. You know, all the story, all the culture that we have built for wine is still like a super futurist for olive oil. We still have to start from the base. So in every kitchen, we should have more than one bottle of olive oil, one that you use for cooking, that probably is less expensive, another one that you use for preparing some kind of foods, and another one, you know, to being curious, to discover new taste of olive oil. Since we are so much far from the goal of having a culture about extra virgin olive oil, I think that the beautiful of the geographic area is definitely a very good driver, but it's not enough. We need to go massive on consumers first, and then elevate the culture to let them discover the next step. You know, the alphabet first, and then let's go on the poetry and novels.
Okay, yes, please.
I try to help.
Parlo in italiano. Benedetto Fracchiolla, presidente della Finoliva Global Service, è una società per azioni controllata interamente dai produttori.
So Benedetto Fracchiolla is the CEO of Finoliva Global Service,
SPA controllata dai produttori.
The producer control the company located in Bitonto.
Bitonto, Bari, Puglia. È un discorso interessante, ma volevo lanciare uno sguardo al futuro. L'olivicoltura è importante, è fondamentale per i nostri territori, ma sta cambiando. Stanno cambiando gli interessi sul territorio.
The olive grove is very important for Apulia, but in general for all the country as olive grove, but it's changing, all change. For that, there are different interests now in Apulia.
Noi abbiamo l'obbligo qua di governare questo futuro.
We have to govern this change.
Noi ci stiamo concentrando su produzioni bio, DOP, IGP, sostenibili, baby food, vitaminizzati, tutto quello che fa la differenza su un extravergine normale di qualità.
So they are producing different extra virgin olive oil, organic, EVOO, GOP, for children, sustainable extra virgin olive oil.
Chiudo perché è una domanda. La Commissione qua, ripeto, dovremmo attivare tutte quelle misure che vanno a garantire il futuro di quei territori, perché senza interventi importanti il bacino mediterraneo, fatto anche dai nostri frontalieri, quelli della Tunisia, Libia, Turchia e così via, diventano dei grandi concorrenti sul prezzo. Il nostro lavoro dovrebbe essere un lavoro di alta qualità. Noi ci stiamo sforzando, ma la Commissione che fa?
Okay, I think the question is for you.
I got part of it.
Oh, we don't have translation.
I got parts, but I want to be sure.
It's not a question, it's like, what I ask.
Especially for the competitors abroad, some Mediterranean side, we know the problem that we have with the production. Morocco, Turkey, and many other North African countries, this is a big problem, not only for a country like Italy and Greece, very strong in commerce, but also for Spain, which is a leader for production. So this is a real crucial aspect. We have our member, Eran Garcia, so
well,
please.
thank you very much. I apologize for being late, but I have a lunch in wine topic, so I have to write this. Well, I am from Spain, like Carmen. But he comes from the main region of production in Spain, Andalusia. But you have to take into account that our country has a production across Spain. And in the north, not only Andalusia, but in Castilla-La Mancha, Aragon, La Rioja, Castilla-León, we have a production of olive oil, small producers with very traditional way of production. But our main topic is the AOVE, extra virgin olive oil. And we are very proud to have this production in our country because it takes part of the healthy diet, the Mediterranean healthy diet, with the wine and the other fruits and vegetables that we have. In my region, I come from Rioja. We have the second production we have. It's olive oil. You can imagine that it's important for. If it's important for Rioja, it's important for all the regions in our country. And we are very interested in how can we manage to show our production not only in Spain, not only in Europe, but around the world. Because we think that we can focus our kind of production exported in olive oil in order to have a level of quality of European product, not only in America, not only in the rest of the countries of the first month, but in countries like India, for example, that it should be a very good target for us in the future. So thank you very much, and I'm so sorry. I will come on time next time.
It's very, very interesting. Thank you for your experience. Good luck also for your country region. If there are not any other comments, I think we can give the floor to Mr. Dylan again about some reactions from the European Commission side, from DG Agri. You are very focused on the trades and the international framework.
Yeah, exactly. I already stressed that a bit, but let me take a step back to address also some other comments I heard and questions. So indeed, yes, I focused in my talk mainly on the markets, and I'll come back to that. But indeed, throughout the presentation, I think we have seen that the European Union is an important partner of the oil sector. We went through the research funds. The honorable members discussed the common agricultural policy. There's support for the olive sector. We are trying, and there's also support for the rural communities. There's help with this generational renewal, regeneration. So there's all these elements, and they will not change. We talk a lot about the new CAP proposal, but the idea that we have to support the production in Europe with income support and support for the ecosystem services is there. It's very clear in the vision. Then, of course, we have to see how that materializes. But then there were a couple of very specific questions. First, on the sterile, because I know this is a very important topic to Italian producers, also Greek producers. I don't think we have any today, but very important for the Greek producers as well. That we are trying to solve in the International Olive Council. For those not aware, so indeed there has been a study to assess whether this sterile level that we had to establish what can be extra virgin olive oil and what not, whether there has to be a deviation. In the International Olive Council, the scientists have reached a consensus that indeed for two varieties, of which Coratina is one, it would be good to no, the Coratina there is not included. Not Xylella and the Coronati. Sorry, yes. So those two, there seems to be sufficient evidence that there is an issue, and this is now put forward to the member states. And actually next week, we have a discussion with the member states to see whether we want to support this change. The Coratina is not there on this list because this study so far, there were not enough samples sent in to make this scientific consensus. But the study continues. So my call here is for every country, every processor to work with the member state, because it's your administration that has to send the samples to the International Olive Council, to send enough samples, to send the right samples, so that then, when the studies also show that there's problems with other varieties, that they can be included, and that we can again talk about those levels as well. So I think that's important, that this is a scientific process, a scientific study, and once there is evidence, we put it in front of the member states, which for Coronati happens next week. And then it takes a while, of course, before it's implemented, but the decision was to be taken next week. Then coming to the competition. I think we already stressed that indeed, we have a unique position on the global market and on the European market, because the production in the EU is linked to the cultural value, to the high quality. There's a lot of work there to further educate the consumer, but that's what we should do, because we cannot tell Tunisia or Morocco that they cannot produce olive oil. So we have to differentiate ourselves. And that's the first thing, to differentiate in our market and to make sure that we're very active on third markets. That's why I also mentioned these free trade agreements. I also mentioned India as an opportunity. There's Mercosur coming to be active on those. At the same time, if you really look at the data, sometimes we should also not be too afraid of these other regions, because what we see is actually that worldwide, the demand is there. The more we produce, the more consumers, China, India, etc., they have. So actually, when these others are also active, and the Moroccan consumer gets familiar with olive oil, the Tunisian consumer, Tunisia is already very conscious, it's very important, but there's actually also, we can work together for the product of olive oil. So I think that's what we should keep in mind. The product of olive oil worldwide still needs more recognition. And then we have to make sure that in that market growth, there is place for the quality, the cultural value that we bring. And also there, again, from the Commission side, we're putting some money. There is the promotion funds that we have to help go out to third countries to show, to make promotion for the olive oil as a product first, and then secondly, to promote the quality of the different varieties we have, GIs we have. So yes, in the short term, it may look scary that they're increasing production, but I think it's room for everyone, and we have to make sure that we are active in this high quality segment, that we can produce the value that we want to produce. And that's the way to remain competitive, because just on value, I understand that if you're somewhere in Bari, close to Bari in Puglia, you have an older growth, production is lower per hectare, so you cannot compete with the superintendent. So you have to make a point on how you can differentiate yourself from that.
Yeah. And of course, I think we had to increase the funds for promotion because, you know, in the last years, we had 60% of a cut for example, geographical indication products. And you know, Spain, Italy are one of the most important countries on the number of geographical indications. We already discussed about this point with DG Agri, and so yeah, that.
But this is to be discussed with the member states,
Yeah,
because we didn't
yeah,
use the budget, it was the new budget.
That's why.
Count on the parliament, the MFF, to put the promotion.
Yes, and I'm happy that Antonio De Caro remind us that the vote last week in Strasbourg about 2 amendments on the new cap. We voted not only to avoid any kind of a cut, but also to increase, to adapt to inflation impact the cap, which has been reduced.
They have an agreement.
Exactly.
We
Yeah,
have
we know
a
it,
position.
exactly. But if Antonio and Carmen want to say something, or some reactions or.
Only quickly, interesting meeting, very interesting. The person here is interesting. All the different materials for the agriculture, the oil. Interesting, waiting for the next.
Yeah.
I have learned important meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adela, and thank you to the college.
Thank you. Antonio, we had a very special experience from Apulian producers here.
It's important producer in my region and in Italy. And in my region, the most problem is Xylella fastidiosa.
Yeah.
In this moment, the water resilience is another problem for agriculture in general. And this item, this point, focus is the focus for my committee and your committee. Agri and Envy work to this point for the future of agriculture, the future of the world, because of the water resilience, a new genomic technique for the change the DNA of the plants is very, very important. In this moment, this is the point for the discuss, debate in committee.
And on new genomic techniques, we have many news because the new Polish presidency of the European Council is stressing this point, and I think we will achieve important results. So I'm ready because this is an important achievement that very close. And also European Food Forum has organized a lot of initiatives about it. So, Luisella, can we conclude?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your contribution. We invited all of you also for tonight, and so very, very grateful. Thank you for many experiences. I believe in the pact of Mediterranean countries. So Spain, Italy, Greece, Portugal, we must work together because we are the 27 state members. I don't know how important is this challenge for our Sweden colleagues. I don't know how big is the focus on olive oil in Sweden.
But they're consumers.
Yeah. Good. So we have to involve them from this other point of view. So absolutely, I agree. So and we have this new framework because the European Commission will show the new cap in a very few weeks, middle of July. So be ready, because olive oil could have, must have a very important position in this framework. So thank you again to all of you. Very useful discussion. Xylella, thank you to European Food Forum, and I hope to continue this work in many other meetings and occasions.
I don't know if you want to mention the next.
Oh, yes, please. Thank you. I have the instructions. So June, Reimaging Food and Agriculture, Strategic Summit on the Narratives that Shape Our Reality in collaboration with our member Reimaging Europe. And we have a workshops on decarbonization policies in collaboration with DG Climate. July, Understanding Food Processing, the benefits and the challenges, including the debate around ultra-processed food. Very interesting. Yes, topic. And September, Animal Proteins, which is another, not animal parts, but animal proteins. And so that's all.
Yeah.
Very interesting agenda. Very good agenda.
The fisheries now, we need to organize the fisheries.
Thank you. Thank you again, Crespo Diaz, Antonio De Caro, all the producers, the experts, our colleague and friend from European Commission. And let's continue our activities today and next days. Thank you again.